10,000 bankruptcy stories later, Rich Mack, a non-attorney but bankruptcy expert, explains the moment on the calls when people feel relief. Rich, you've had all these calls with bankruptcy people who file bankruptcy, considering filing bankruptcy. These calls typically last somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes or whatever they are, depending on their complexity of their case. What's the moment where they are like, oh my gosh, like, when do they feel relief?
Right. I feel like everybody's afraid almost the whole time in the call, but when I can relay their specific situation to how bankruptcy is going to solve their problem, and they realize again that bankruptcy is a legal tool offered by the government to help you get out of debt and fix your credit. And so when I relate the details of bankruptcy and how it's going to solve their problems and give them that relief that, a lot of these people have been struggling for years, they're just got served with lawsuits. But the second that I can connect their personal situation to how bankruptcy is going to legally solve that problem for them and give them that relief, that's when things typically click.
Yeah. It's funny that, some of these calls that I've listened to, it's a, they're like waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah. Everybody's waiting for this axe to fall.
Okay. Like, but what about this? And what about this? And, but surely, and they almost don't want to like tell you the hairy part of it. Like,
right.
But I got in a car accident but I lost my job. Right. And they're just piecing out little information. And then at the end of the call, it's like, oh yeah. Okay. That's no problem. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. And I do relate my own personal situations. Like I didn't know about bankruptcy before I started working in the industry. And then I went through life. I had life happen to me. And I tell people like when I started working in bankruptcy, like, oh my gosh, I could have just filed bankruptcy instead of dealing with my credit and digging myself out of this hole for years. So by the time I dug myself out of my hole, I'm like, I should have done bankruptcy. It would have saved me years and thousands of dollars. So I do relate my own personal situation to help them out and I connect on that level. But yeah, I've heard everybody has a story, everybody has an issue, and everybody thinks that their story is unique. But when they find out, hey, I've heard everything. I've heard crazy things happen, people making big mistakes, or just something unexpected happen in their life. So it kind of varies. The people that have made just financial mistakes are typically more embarrassed, but it's good that we have this financial tool to offer them so they can get that debt relief. Yeah.
And, you brought something up, like people think like they're embarrassed over this situation they're in. And you've probably heard their situation. As I like to say, you've seen the movie hundreds of times, right? There's like nothing that shocks you.
Right.
You're like, and that's the important thing. Like when you call to find out if you qualify for bankruptcy, just lay it all out. Right? Because that's what the bankruptcy attorney, or in your case, the first step before you even go to a bankruptcy attorney is for, to see if you're in the qualifying area. And this box of qualifying is much, much bigger than people realize.
Right.
Like they think it's like, oh, I wonder if I qualify. It's like that. No, the box is huge. It's really, as a matter of fact, we know like statistically, how many people that you talk to don't qualify, that you say, you don't qualify. Like what percentage of it is it?
I'd say it's small because there's typically bankruptcy for everybody. Somebody had a business, but and then every state's a little bit different with exemptions, and that's kind of getting into the nitty gritty. But there's a bankruptcy that helps people keep a car, keep their house. So, and I think that's the biggest thing. People think they're going to end up being carless and homeless after bankruptcy, which is almost never true. So, I wouldn't say always true, but I'd say 99% of people, there's a bankruptcy. It's very rare that I talk to somebody like, oh, bankruptcy.
Oh, it's actually 99%. So
I'd say maybe less than 5% of people that I talk to, they may not qualify for bankruptcy for whatever reason.
So 95% of the people that you talk to,
at least,
there's a bankruptcy fit for them.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, good. So anyways, for people listening, this is as simple as it is. We're trying to dispel the misconceptions out there and realize there is a pathway forward if you feel that pressure. Rich Mack, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Phil.